Yeah, if you're going to be at us in the chat, especially on YouTube, and you say that you're out at practice, I'm out at practice. Well, I'm going to challenge you to come introduce yourself, and let's watch practice together, because apparently you know more than I do, even though we have a track record publicly and you don't. We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports. Hope all of you are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Who would have known that in 2019 that the players that were on that team would one day be so rich that if they collected all of their money as a business, they would be on the NASDAQ? That being the LSU Fighting Tigers, with Jamar Chase getting paid for a year, $161 million, $121 million guaranteed. Joe Burrow, 5-year deal, $275 million. Jets, who got $140 million. Stingley, who got an extension today with a 3-year, $90 million. And Patrick Queen, who last all season got a 3-year deal worth $41 million. It's the best team of all time, man. You know, I can't start off the show and not mention it. I'm sure some of you are kind of getting tired about it because we talk about that all the time. But I do think it's good to reflect on what that season was about and what you're trying to get back to. Now, there may not be another team in this generation, in this lifetime, that we will ever see again that will be like that. The chances are very slim, if ever. And you know what? I might be okay with that part, not having the best team of all time ever again. But I do want to get back to a national title before I die. You do as well. But good for all of those men who gave Louisiana, who gave this state and the fan base of LSU the best thing in the best season ever. Got lots to talk about tonight. We got to get to spring football. We got to recap LSU baseball weekend. As the LSU women's basketball team, can they really make a push as yet being a 3 seed yet again? Carter Bryant joins us at 7:35. We got lots to discuss with him. Oh, and by the way, we'll be at practice all day tomorrow. So it's going to be a really fun show as spring football gets here. But I got to ask y'all a question. I asked this on Twitter before we get rolling here. Deion Sanders came out today and asked, or said, he didn't ask. But Deion Sanders came out today and said that he wants to play another team on April 19th for their spring game. Practice against a team that is not their own. A team come in for a couple days. They practice against one another. And then they have an exhibition on that Saturday. Guys, I want LSU to do that. I think it would be awesome to see your team during spring practice against another team in the spring. You can get a really good decision of where your team's at. Guys aren't knowing the hand signals. Guys don't know the play calls. You get an actual other team that comes in. You practice against one another. Then you'll play in a scrimmage against one another. Quarterbacks aren't going to get hit. Now, you serve the same risk that you would have in practice if you're going up against another team than your own. Don't go to the ground. Hell, you can practice with your own team, and then you go into 11-on-11 drills, and let's get this thing rolling. I think Deion, for once, hit the nail on the head here when it comes to what we all would want to see during spring. Look, fans of college football, in my opinion, have taken a lot of losses. Fans don't want the expansion. Generally they don't. But fans didn't want that level of expansion. They didn't want realignment. A lot of people still think NIL shouldn't be here, but regardless if they do or don't, it is out of control in some instances. The portal can be chaos. The overall scheduling's chaos. The whole entire sport, especially fans, continue to take L's, but Deion gives a solution that everybody can get behind. I know that I'm for it. Now, I put the poll out on Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter, but X. Would you be for it? Like 75% of you said, yeah, we would want to do that. It would be awesome. I mean, if you want to go to the NFL model, NFL teams do that. And good on Deion for what it's worth. Good on Deion when other coaches are running away from spring games. Good on Deion to be the guy that puts his foot down and says, let's go compete. Let's go compete. That is what this is about anyway. By the way, if you're LSU, boy, if another team comes in here and you have an issue in your interior offensive line against another team, or you have an issue at safety or a defensive tackle, boy, that spring portal gets really interesting, doesn't it? You don't have to wait until August when you don't have a choice to make finalizations to your roster where you can make those finalizations. Why wouldn't you do it? Now, I would assume that there's going to be some clapback when it comes to doing something like this, because I'm sure some administrations would not want to spend the money. Maybe ESPN wouldn't want to spend the money to televise it. I don't know. But what's an extra $500,000 when you're going to get that money from TV revenue? And I'm sure the players wouldn't mind an extra check if we're going to do TV revenue any damn way. I don't know how you guys feel in the chat, but for me, I would ask all of you, thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat. Would you want to see your team go up against another opponent during spring? Because I would. I 100% would want to see that. And I do want to see that. I think it would be awesome if that were to happen. Let's get to a couple comments before we get rolling. Jeff Jones says, what's up, Blake? The 409 is in the building. Where is everybody was listening to from tonight? Where is everybody listening to? Pi Moyo says yes. Donta Williams says yes. Listen, man, I am all for it. Sign me up. I am all for that. Jared Hill says, I've been saying that for years. See, fans want it, man. Fans want it. I mean, like, it would be so awesome. And guess what? Like, LSU's posting videos today. Like, it would be great for the overall sport. Great for the overall sport. Brian Turner says Baton Rouge, and I believe when healthy, Nick Anderson will be the best receiver in the NCAA. Got to catch the football. He had 3 drops on Saturday. Let's see if he can start working. Look, man, it's going to be a lot mental with him, I think. He's got to work through it. Perry De La Houssaye says yes. Eric Wright says yes. Cole Adams says yes. You know what? I might I don't know the next time that we get Brian Kelly for a press conference. If I remember, I'm going to try to ask that question. Hey, Coach, Deion Sanders, when we're in the press conference, I'm going to say Deion Sanders said that he would not be opposed and actually wants to have another team to come in here and play and practice against each other and play an exhibition. Would you be up for that? I would love to know his response. I would love to know his response. You know what? If Deion did something today that if the media, the national media and the local media, they literally, and listen, it would be great for them because they get content and they could get content for 3 days and make extra money. If they press their coaches on this and say, hey, would you be open to that? Man, you would find out the coaches that are running away scared. And here's the thing. Not everybody's got to do that. Not everybody's going to do it. And I hope the NCAA, for what it's worth, I pray to God the NCAA lets this happen. I hope they let it happen. They probably will find some issues with it. Cajunomics Bowl would be wild. Yeah, if ULL came into town and you're going one-on-one. Here's the thing that I did think about some of these G5 programs or FCS programs. Why would let's say, hypothetically, if I'm ULL, I would never go to LSU to practice against them and play against them. Can I tell you why? Because why would I show you my roster and guys that we're developing? Because, dude, could you imagine it? If there's a tight end or a wide receiver or a running back that goes off against LSU in one of these practices and these exhibitions, and that kid hits the portal and he goes to LSU, that shit's gonna that shit would, dude, it would blow up. Now, hopefully there would be a handshake agreement. Like, listen, we're not going to take any of your players. You can come here. We're not going to take any of your players. I can't tell you about anybody else, though. That would be more than likely. That would be what smaller schools would do. I pray that this could happen. The chances of it happening is probably very slim. Slim pickings to none. But yeah. Jamie posts this from the 318, living in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The 336 is in the building, not the 337 that we're accustomed to, but the 336. Gerald is in New York City, New York. New York. Father Abear says, I'm absolutely in favor for it. Well, Father Abear, this is what you need to do. You need to go to the man upstairs and say, listen, on this St. Patty's Day, you need to go to the man upstairs and say, Father, we need this to happen. The college football nation fan base needs a win. You know it, and I know it. We need a win because of all the crap that we've taken with realignment, the playoff, auto bids, whatever the situation may be, tampering, NCAA crumbling, NIL, portal, whatever your gripe is. Somebody hates college football for one main thing, regardless of what it is. This would be finally to get a win for it. And I hope that one day that this happens. I hope it happens this year. And by the way, good on Syracuse head coach Fran Brown for going out there and says, I'm about it. Shh. Let me tell you this. And a lot of you in here are parents. I see Fran Brown going out there and saying, I'm about it. Let's line it up. Let's go. If my son gets recruited by Syracuse and I'm telling my son, hey, we're going to sit down with Fran Brown. We're going to make Syracuse a legitimate option here, because my job as a father is to make sure that somebody that my son is going to, that they will mold him into being a man and becoming a man. Fran Brown, you do stuff like that, 100% I'm going to let my son go play for you at Syracuse. 1,000%. Why not? All right. Last one before we get rolling here. I am Alex says championship or bust. Feels like this is supposed to be LSU season, kind of like it was supposed to be Ole Miss's season last year. For me, it's not. For me, it's not championship or bust, because even though you had the number one team in the portal, I don't think you're there yet, personally. All right, when we come back, I need to get to this. All right, one final thing, guys. I say this, and I say this to people that I even talk to that are sources. Programming note, or not even programming note. Rant note. Be careful of these write-ups during spring. I say it every year. Guys, you don't even have to take my word for it. Go to whoever you think covers his teams the best. Guys, if somebody is not at practice, by the way, and I will admit when I am not there, we will be there tomorrow. I don't want coaches putting stuff out there on the way that they see it. I got to get my own vision and my own opinion. That is me. Guys, there are a lot of things and holes that LSU's got to fill that they're not good at. There are positions on this team they're not good at. You want to buy into it, you go right on ahead. But I'm telling you, you better be very careful. Because when you come in here into these post games and you come in here into this show and say, well, Blake, why do you think this happened? I'll be like, bro, we talked about it all off season. Where have you been? We talked about it during the spring. Where have you been? Be careful doing it. All right, let's get to it. We're going to come back and break down the weekend recap. LSU got a massive weekend. They got to go into Austin to take on the Texas Longhorns. Finally, their big-time SEC plays here. They also had a sweep this weekend as well. But we'll recap. We'll talk a little bit about baseball. Carter Bryant will join us at 7:35. We'll talk a lot of spring football here, some things that we've been seeing, some things that have been going on, maybe some more breakdowns, some things that have been happening since we haven't been there last. Let me get to a quick break, and when we come back, we will get to all that. But first, we got to talk about our good friends over at Service Hawk Digital Media. Service Hawk Digital Media, where they soar above the competition. Guys, do you own a successful HVAC, plumbing, or electrical business? You've worked hard to build it, and no marketing is important, but you feel like at the current efforts aren't enough and you need to move the needle. ServiceHawk Digital Marketing, they do and are, they will help your business, they will help your business owners through the process. They will help your growth in the business and a higher ceiling that will be clear. First, they will assess your business goals and opportunities and strategies to make sure that your business from a marketing standpoint is running at the best that it needs to. Right leads, smart systems, real growth. That is ServiceHawk Digital Media. Let me take a quick break. When we come back, we got a lot to discuss. Stay with us.
BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
We're back. All right. So LSU baseball this weekend swept the Missouri Tigers, and I know that there were some times in there, and even Jay Johnson admitted that there were some times, man, hey, look, listen, we had to battle through some of these situations. Now, not the entire time. I mean, on Friday and Sunday, I really do think, especially at the plate, you took it to Missouri, but Saturday you had a battle on your hands. You prevailed. And the first SEC weekend of the season, you do get a sweep. Let me start off here because I know that last week I said that I thought that Missouri was bad. I think that this Missouri team that you saw come into Baton Rouge was better than the team that they had a season ago. That team won 9 games in the SEC. It's not like they went winless or they won 1 or 2, 3 games. They won 9 games in the SEC a year ago. Now, they did sweep Florida, who ultimately went to Omaha. Guys, that is baseball. Congratulations. You've made it. I look at this team, and there's a lot of things that I think we need to discuss. For the first time, and really for the first weekend against, I don't want to say your best opponent because I don't think it's your best opponent, but there was something this weekend that happened, and somewhat this week, that has not been an occurrence for LSU. Guys, you gave up way too many walks this past weekend. You gave, especially out of your bullpen, but your starters, both Saturday and Sunday, could not get out of the 4th inning. And there was a lot of things and a lot of times where both Chase Shores and Anthony Ianson were around the zone, but could not get into the zone. Now, Chase Shores, you can say, look, man, I mean, the guy behind the plate, even on Saturday, was really bad behind the plate. But regardless, you did not get out of the 4th inning. I do not believe, for what it's worth, I do not believe that LSU is going to make a change. I do not believe, as of right now, that your rotation is going to change. I do think that Zach Cowan, who has been very reliable for you, could be an option that you might down the road need to assess. But as you do go into Texas this weekend, I am very interested to see if you can be a lot better on Saturday and Sunday. Even before LSU took on Missouri during this weekend, there were concerns from me about Anthony Ianson. I think he leaves the ball a little too up in the zone. I think teams are getting a really good read off of his off-speed stuff, and he's getting touched a little bit, more than a little bit. This is not the first time that it happened. With Chase Shores, I do believe that there's a lot of talent there. There's just a lot of chaos. There's a lot of times where I'm like, damn, you're up 0-2, and then before you know it, it's either the count is either even or you're at 3-2 and you got to make a pitch. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And sometimes you do get bailed out there. But the one thing that will make a really bad team, a team that has no business being with you on the same field for what it's worth when it comes to a talent and coaching perspective, is if you start giving up walks, like the bullpen this weekend gave up 10 walks, that is too much. Guys, that is way, way too much. Walking the bases loaded 3 times plus in a weekend is not good from your bullpen. Now, did they get stressed this weekend and were they able to prevail? Yes. And I agree with Jay Johnson, who spoke with the media yesterday, and I know he spoke with the media right now at his coach's show, but spoke with the media on Sunday and said, listen, we got in adverse situations, and regardless of how or why or when we got in those adversity-rich situations, we prevailed from them. And he did, and they did. I don't think Missouri is like the worst team ever, and I want to remind people they did win 9 games a season ago in the SEC. They're not the best team, and they might be one of the worst. But I know that there's been a level of concern from a lot of you, most of it coming from the mound. But I will warn you and caution you, be careful. Baseball is a tricky mother. And if you base your entire opinion based off of one weekend, you will get bitten in the ass. Trust me, I've done it myself. I get a little over-emotional, of course I do, about what I see in a weekend and think it's the norm of what you're going to see, and it won't be. I do think that you still have a lot of talent coming out of the bullpen and even in your rotation. Do I think that you've settled in on where you're going to go ultimately and how you will end the season? No, I don't. Because Gage Jump was your ace last year, and coming out of Texas, I mean, you didn't know what you were going to really get from him. Now, Cade Anderson for sure has locked down that Friday spot, and he's looked really good doing it. Can you get into the 4th and 5th inning on these Sunday situations, and Saturday situations will be a big question mark. Now, I made a comparison in a postgame show that made people lose their minds. But we've seen guys on Saturdays and Sundays have to figure some things out, and not just Ty Floyd as an example. There have been a lot of seasons when we've had to figure that out, and you have been better for it. But you do take on a hostile opponent in a hostile place this weekend, a team that comes into the SEC with a new head coach and with a coach that was coaching for a national title. Look how A&M looks without Schloss at the current moment. You have an absolutely massive opponent, and it will be your biggest test. And you're going to get a lot of answers this weekend. I can make the argument that you get more answers about your team this year than you probably ever would have. You know, you probably would have started to get some questions answered this time a year ago from this past weekend, but you don't have a lot of those questions that you really want to get answered. Here's the thing that I want to talk about, though, because offensively, I don't know what much else that you can expect from this team. Offensively, in the 15-game winning streak that you've had, you've averaged 10.93 runs per game. You've scored 164 runs. And maybe it's not the way that we're accustomed to, or the way that Tennessee does it, or the way that Texas did it this weekend, or whatever team that you want to compare LSU to. What I would say is at the plate, if you're going to score a run in inning damn near, plus, guys, you got to take it. Now, do I still think that there were some times and opportunities at the plate where you could have capitalized on? Absolutely. You're not a finished product there at all. Because if I came into the season, or if I told you before the season that going into the Texas weekend, LSU's offense would be averaging 10 runs a game, more than 10 runs a game. If I would have told you that LSU would be going into the weekend series in a 15-game win streak, that they would be averaging 10.93 runs per game, you would take that. 1,000% that you would take that. Don't act like you wouldn't. Now, again, you have a lot of questions that you will get answered this weekend. A lot of them. So as we sit here on a Monday, we can only go, what I'm basically trying to say, I guess, is that we can only go off of what we've been given. I am shocked, for what it's worth, that Michael Braswell started the entire weekend. I am surprised at some of the things that he did this weekend. And look, the bunts were perfect. He got a line drive base hit. He got a hit yesterday. He had a good weekend. This team has a lot of depth at the positions, I should say. And you have a lot of talent, like Derek Curiel, Jared Jones, and Danny Dickinson. Guys, that is as fearful of a front three as you will see. Very fearful. And I think Luis Hernandez, for what it's worth, some of those hard hit balls that he has and he's been hitting, those are going to drop and those are going to get over the fence. So it's going to be interesting to see how he progresses. But we'll talk a lot about Texas this week. You have a midweek game this week as well. And after that, we'll really lock in on Texas. But, man, as I look at it now, I think you're one of the better teams in the country, top 5, top 10 team. I don't think right now that you've shown to be the best team in the country. I think that is Tennessee, for what it's worth. But there are a lot of things that you can do here. One thing that Jay Johnson did say in his postgame show on Sunday, in his postgame interview on Sunday, that got my antennas up. Jay has been asked about Gavin Guidry, and he was asked about Gavin Guidry again here tonight. He said, I wish I could expand on it more. But I think that you see a guy and Jay Johnson, who did not like what he saw of the bullpen this weekend, but you put a lot of stress on him. Kason Evans coming in on Saturday, getting 2 walks, but getting out and getting the save. I mean, guys, he came in the 7th inning. It's going to be interesting to see what you do with him. It's going to be very interesting to see what you do with Maverick Rizzi, who looked fantastic yesterday. And maybe the 2 guys coming out of the pen, they very well may be, very, very well may be the best 2 guys you have coming out of the pen, not named Zach Cowan. Now, I do think that Connor Ware did not have a bad performance, didn't have a great one, but didn't have a bad performance in both days that we saw him. But Zach Cowan is another one that I thought has given you a lot of ability here as well. Jared Jones, Stephen Milam, Derek Curiel, Danny Dickinson, Luis Hernandez, for what it's worth, Josh Pearson, and Jake Brown. Guys, those 6 guys have been absolutely hitting the ball off the charts. They have had a really, really good start to the season. You need that front 6 to continue to stay locked in and continue to hit the ball the way that they are. If you continue to have the plates or have the appearances that you do at the plate, I do think that you can go into Texas and get it. I am fearful about what you have going on at the mound. And I'm not, I say fearful. I am, how about this? Not let me say fearful. That's not a good way to put it. I am cautiously optimistic that you will still be fine there. In the starting rotation on Saturday and Sunday, I am a little bit worried. I'll just be real with you, because it's one thing for a guy to get rocked around one time, right? It's another thing for this to be a back-to-back weekend issue. And as the season goes on, you got to find it out. By the way, I haven't even brought up William Schmidt, and I don't know what to make of Schmidt at the current moment, other than I'm just going to chalk his first SEC appearance up to nerves, and the kid's got the ability. He's going to have to be big for you this weekend. At some point, William Schmidt's going to have to be big for you. He's got to come in and deliver for you. So we'll see. Carter, the Power Bryant in the chat says, I need his $5 super chat right now, and I'll deliver the best spring game take ever. Okay. If you send in the $5, Carter's going to give it. All right. Let's get to him. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we break down spring football for LSU next. Stay with us. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by.
Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
Carter, Howard, Bryant, good evening, good sir. How are you?
Blake, you're so right about the spring game. I am glad Dion Primetime Sanders. We agree on two things, right? The single-digit thing. You could go look up his comments on the single-digit number. He and I are lockstep in that. And the spring game thing. I have been making this point. You have been making this point. And honestly, one thing to add on to everything you were talking about a little bit earlier is this is mostly good for the players. Who gives a damn if your player gets approached from a G5 to a Power 4? What you could do is take the European soccer model and pay a transfer fee. If you poach my player, you have to pay the group of 5 school, let's say $25,000, right? If you really want someone, that means you really got to, pony up for them. But honestly, the big thing is that college football, the sport where every single game matters the most, is the only sport we have in American society that has no preseason games, no exhibitions. It's the only level of football where that's the case. You play 7-on-7 in high school preseason games. We see it in the NFL, even though they don't do joint practices anymore. College football is the only sport where there is no prerequisite matchup versus somebody that is not your own team. And you learn a lot about your team, not only how they do against actual competition where they don't know what plays you're running, but also how they manage themselves, how they manage their emotions. Are they fighting a lot versus the other team? And,
good. I hope they do.
Yes. And then one extra thing, Blake. So like the matchup in the March Madness that everyone's talking about the most is Kansas versus Arkansas, right? You have, Bill Self going up against John Calipari. They both had down years. What a lot of people don't know is they did an Arkansas-Kansas exhibition match before last season, and it made a lot of money. They raised it for a great charity, and Arkansas ended up being bad, but they beat Kansas in that game. Kansas ended up being good, and they made it clear this has no impetus on the season. So you can also say that before you play the exhibition, and people will take you at your word, right? This game means absolutely nothing. So I understand all the reasons why they wouldn't do it, but it did take the biggest star in the sport, which is prime time, to get the conversation going, and I'm really excited about that.
I don't know if I'm going to go that he's the biggest star in the sport, but
who's the biggest? Who's?
I will say anytime that we do Ryan Day content, it explodes.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
But Deion's right there. Deion's right there. I mean, pick your poison.
But let me ask you this. Is Ryan Day a big star because he's at Ohio State? Yes. Deion is the biggest star.
Probably, but the problem is I'm not taking him out of Ohio State at the current moment. He's still there. You know, like
Right.
I still think Nick Saban's the biggest star in college football.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I was talking about active coaches, but
Well,
yes,
fair,
Nick is the biggest needle mover. But you're
Here's my thing. There was one thing in there, and Linda Young. So you can bring up your big thing here. She sends a $5.
that was it. I was going to do it anyway. But
okay,
Linda and I go way back. Get to see Linda in here.
Okay, thank you for the $5. Here's my thing. I disagree on one small part of that. I think now if you do that, it does mean a lot more, because let me tell you why. Let's throw in a random situation. Let's say ULL comes to LSU for 2 days and they practice and have an exhibition. And let's just say, for argument's sake, your interior offensive line gets their ass whooped, or your interior defensive line gets their ass whooped, or your DB room gets their ass whooped. It's much bigger when that happens, because what people will say and notice, if you go up against yourself, man, Chris Hilton's just beating everybody because of his speed, and they'll take it, well, that's a positive for us, and don't look at the negatives of what you spring, because it's team on team, right? It's a bigger – I've seen this in the NFL. NFL teams and fan bases freak out when you do these joint practices and the right tackle's getting their ass whooped by another team. Because if that's happening here, what happens when you face off against other teams? I think it makes it bigger for you, right? Like, what happens if, let's just say you go into a practice or an exhibition and your right tackle's getting his ass whooped? Well, you know you're going after a right tackle, or your safety's getting beat. You know what else it does? It gives me the best look. Let me tell you why. It gives me the best look about my team, because I saw a safety on Saturday get his ass jumped by Brian Kelly because he broke on a route before the receiver broke on the route, because he knew what play got called and he knew what the receiver was running. And so therefore he's like, give us the right look. And the player got pulled. And good on Brian Kelly for doing that. That is why it gives me the best look. You talked about it being the only sport where you don't have an exhibition. Baseball does it. Basketball does it. Like, why wouldn't college football want to do this? Now, here's the reality of it. I don't think it happens, because I think that teams and coaches will flounder away from it. Dion is 1,000% right. The impact that this can have on fan bases, college, and your overall roster, which is your job to make sure that you're ready to go on, it will impact that. By the way, Jay Johnson literally came out 3 weeks ago and said, I knew that Derek Curiel was special and that he would be special. When I started getting validation? In the preseason, when we went over to Biloxi and he went 5 of 7 and was going stupid on teams.
And who was that again? Who was that against?
It was against Samford, and I think they played ULL. But it doesn't matter the opponent.
Right.
He's seeing it he's going up against his own team, but he goes up against another team. He's batting leadoff as a freshman for LSU. I think the impacts are astronomically massive, because could you imagine Ohio State and Notre Dame practice for 2 days? Let's take LSU out of the equation.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Florida going down to, let's say they don't play Miami this year, going to Miami in a joint practice? That sells. Not only does it sell, it gives you a good look for your team.
Yeah, and it would make some calendar sense too, because it would kind of happen.
I'm asking Brian Kelly if the next time we see him, if I remember.
I think he's open to it. Brian Kelly.
I think he would too. This is how I'm going to phrase the question. I'm going to ask him if he heard what Dion said about playing another team, which, by the way, Fran Brown had the biggest recruiting pitch today.
He crushed it. He won.
Crushed it.
Yeah.
Dude, me as a father, by the way, I'm literally would send Ben Ruffino to play for Fran Brown because of that. Because you're molding my son to be a man. You know what I want to know? I want to ask Brian Kelly, what's the logistical issues that would come up here? Like, what would be the downfalls? Is it money? Is it logistics? Like, what would be the downfall? Because everybody can go out there and say, yeah, I'd love to do it. But then logistically, we don't know behind the scenes what would happen. That's what I would want to know.
Yeah, and I I just think about like being a college football player. You rarely get to do anything. Like I don't think people quite understand how monotonous being a college football player actually is. Now it's a good life, especially now. It's a really good life. But every damn day, the same person over and over.
Right.
Yeah, like it would drive me wild, right? It makes college football an office job, if you will. Let me see a different color jersey. I'd love to see it, but I agree
There's
with you.
nobody in this chat or will watch this clip video and tell me with any real true conviction that if there's like, again, if your safety play is getting toasted by a team that comes in here to practices on your field and they say around and they whip your Carter, could you imagine a team coming into Baton Rouge on not on just your stadium and beating you? Could you imagine them coming in here for 2 days and whipping your ass for a practice? That's when you real shit. Coaches will get serious about shit when that would happen.
Yeah, and because Linda did the $5, there is something else.
What is it?
From an LSU vantage point, it's also better because you play difficult season openers. And,
Bingo.
And that will give you answers. Okay. So I won't single out the player, but there was a season opener during the Brian Kelly era where I was vehemently opposed to one of the players starting. All right.
Cam Ware. Let's call it out.
I won't say who.
Okay. It was Cam Ware.
Cam Wire.
Cam Wire. Why? Cam Wire.
It does apply to him, but I felt so sick that he was going up against Jared Verse, who I thought was like the Albany tape was insane. Like, it was just freaking wild. And even Will Campbell said that guy gave me trouble on the very first snap of the game. But I was like, there's no way that Cam Wire is going to be able to hold up against this just based on what actually happened. But throughout camp, Cam Wire was fine, right? Maybe if you play a spring game versus somebody else, that doesn't pop up. Right? You're able to see
my point.
Yeah, and
exactly.
And that helps your team because, well, if you're playing a difficult season opener and you don't like go through playing somebody else, you don't know a damn thing. So
go ahead. Sorry.
No. You go ahead.
Think about that's my point. But again, we're thinking about the negatives. There are massive positives in this instance. What if there's a guy that, like, say you have a receiver that does, like, you have a top tier, you want to sit Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels, okay, as an example. Brian Thomas, you want to sit. Well, then what if Chris Hilton comes out there and goes stupid, right, against another? That's my right. So again, and here's the thing that's so interesting about that. Now let's get to some real LSU stuff. I don't want to stay on this long, but think about this. What was the clip that got posted all day today with Chase and Stingley making the money they did? Iron sharpens iron. Oh, this was the prank. Think about that one-on-one. That is the point that we're trying to make here, right? Like that clip being, by the way, $707 million in 16 months for that 2019 team. If they collected all their money together, by the way, they would be on the NASDAQ. Meaning that they could control the economy.
And to think Joe Burrow was eating Piccadilly for Thanksgiving, you know?
I know.
Look at how far he's come, man. That's
so nuts. All right, let's get on the field for actual spring. Carter, they've been out there a little bit more than a week. We'll be back out there tomorrow for the full thing. But I'm going to leave this open-ended. What are some things there's some takeaways that you've gotten from spring so far this year?
Yeah, the DJ Pickett's going to be a big part of this team.
Oh, ain't that the truth?
I mean, that's honestly the biggest buzz. Obviously, the media. LSU
he had
football.
A massive day Saturday, dude.
Yeah, LSU football. Zach Nagy. Everyone tweeting that interception clip, but it's not just that. It's just basically him being a dude.
The three plays before that, he gets a PBU on Hilton. He gets he locks down Barry and Brown. He on a post route. We ain't had a corner like that. I mean, like that kid came to play.
Yeah, and you needed. I mean, obviously that makes everybody's life a lot easier. I've spoken to former LSU players about Pickett, and they say this guy is the real freaking deal. So it's that to me is the biggest positive for me personally. How many people have said that guy is standing out? Another thing it's very interesting. So, Blake, you have the Ross Dellinger piece that was released, and then you also get two different clips, mic'd up clips, one from Jack Pyburn and one from Barry and Brown. All right, these are newcomers, basically getting glow and social media followers and good clips and
Jack good catch by you. That's a good catch by you.
Yeah, so Jack Pyburn says, I kill counter for Christmas or whatever. And Barry and Brown showing love to Whit Weeks, saying, hey, this is the best linebacker in America. Basically, LSU has changed the narrative that they want to be a transfer portal destination for players as well. Mm-hmm. You come in, we are, along with Alabama, the only schools that has 1 million Instagram followers or whatever. That's good. I mean, that does matter. And the transfers have come in and you've mostly gotten what you've gotten at up to this point. Mansour Delane has made a lot of news with that. It's going to be interesting to see the TaMarcus Cooley's safety experiment, see how these next couple of practices or the rest of the spring unfold. But basically, of the transfers and Blake, I'm sure you're hearing the same thing. Pyburn is obviously making a lot of noise. All the ends, all the defensive ends, and then of course, people have talked quite a bit about Delane. So that to me are my biggest takeaways.
Let's go to Jack Pyburn first. You have not had, in the 4 years that Brian Kelly has been here, on either line of scrimmage, someone that brings the pop more than him. I don't give a shit what anybody tells me. He may never register a sack at LSU. He is not a pass rush specialist. He is physically dominating your offensive line right now, and it's showing. By the way, newsflash. Before you say that, well, we have new offensive linemen, he had 6 tackles against you last year, 1.5 coming for tackle for loss. He did it against you last year too, against a guy that will be a top 10 pick and a guy that will be in a top 2 round pick. It doesn't matter. Brother, there was a play that happened on Saturday that I want to highlight. They ran outside zone, 38 zone, in 12 personnel, which I want to get to you about something with 12 personnel in just a moment. Jack Pyburn blew the play up and was double teamed when this happened. And Bauer Sharp and Weston Davis did not have an answer for him. And he got a tackle for loss on Caden Durham. Ain't nobody bringing more intensity, and nobody is bringing the pop more than 44 right now. It's not. And I hate using this as a sound bite, but it's not remotely close. 44 he will knock your head off. Oh, you're going half-ass in a drill? He's going to fight you. You think I'm playing when I say that. That's bullshit. He will knock your ass out right now. You better kill him. And I said that, and people were like, oh, Blake, calm down. No, buddy. You're not seeing what I'm seeing. Carter, they had a drill at edge, which they were going. Somebody went half speed. Will not call out the player. They had to deal with Jack Pyburn. It doesn't matter if he plays. That intensity sells in that room. You know how I know? Gabe Relaford beat out Jamari Butler in 2 days. That's how I know. Okay, and so Gabe Relaford was the other edge. Pat Payton was coming in on pass rushing situations. So I think for the biggest impact that I've seen through a week in 3 practices that I've been at is that 44 is making a massive difference up here mentally, which I think has sparked something different. Now, Carter, I got to ask you a question. LSU ran a lot of 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends with Bauer Sharp and Trey'Dez Green. Well, you did that a lot last year during the spring, and you got into the season, you never ran it. So, I mean, are they just trying to try new things here? Now, Brian Kelly came out in his press conference Saturday and said something interesting. He said that, well, Caleb Jackson's getting better to the new run game system. Well, what in the hell does that mean?
So is this 12 personnel going to be a little bit more locked in with Alex Atkins? I don't know. And then you have Pyburn saying, hey, man, I eat counter for breakfast. Are we seeing a new little transformation in this running game from LSU too?
Yeah, on my channel, I've done 2 practice breakdowns on them repping counter or in different ways. Here's my thing. I'm not saying LSU is just going to come in and be counter, but you brought in a run game specialist who specializes in this play, has taught coaching seminars on counter. So hopefully LSU just gets good at something. Like he played the offensive line position. In order for your run game to work, you really need to be very good at one run concept. That's why LSU really struggled last season. They were not specifically good at any one concept, right? So obviously the Jaden Daniel rush scheme was a lot of zone. 2019 rush scheme, LSU 2019 might be the best duo run scheme you'll ever see. I mean, they were really good at running duo, right? So whatever the concept is, get good at it. Okay. Practice it. If you're going to practice 12 personnel, run it in games. Let's see how it works.
I know.
But hopefully they find one run concept that they're good at. That doesn't mean you can't do outside zone, inside zone, or anything. It's just find one. And if it is counter, hopefully it is something that works. You know, one thing that's been interesting to me, Blake, I heard someone mention Nick Anderson a little bit earlier. It is very important to be patient with him because he's only played 1 year basically of Power 4 football. You know, him missing all of last season. You know, I've heard about the drops as well in practice.
He had 3 drops
Okay.
and 7 on 7. I mean, look, he's not remotely close to being ready.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean he's not it by any stretch of the imagination.
Correct. But as it right now, if you had a game, again, going back to the spring game thing, he's not playing. Like he's not in the 2 deep right now. I mean, Carter, he's barely scratching the 3 deep. Again, he's hurt. Okay. But if you're hurt, okay, if you're going to be out there giving me a look, you better catch the football.
Yeah.
Like you better catch the ball. So again, he's hurt. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But look, I will tell you, as of right now, the wide receivers are winning this battle.
Yes.
And it's to be expected with a quarterback coming back. But Carter, he's got a lot of new faces. I mean, he's throwing the ball a lot to Chris, and I get all that. But they are winning. And look, DJ's had some good reps. Mansour and Jackson have had some good reps. But I see this in the chat about from Alexander, the super chat, is Stamps at CB4 now. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where you want him to be. I mean,
well, I got to be honest with you. I want him to get a look at safety.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that as well. Just anything to get his confidence back.
Yeah, I mean, it has not been good, and I like the kid a lot, but I mean, he has gotten beaten out. But the receivers are winning this battle right now. You talked about Tamarcus Cooley earlier, man, and LSU posted the clip today. I mean, that is giving guys like Bauer Sharp a look where everybody's like, I know the ball was incomplete, and it got thrown behind him. The problem with that is we were there when it happened. The wind was blowing like 25 miles an hour. So I came in here on Saturday and like, look, any incompletion that came by Garrett, I'm not, you know, it is what it is. I mean, he's an ungodly weather, you know. Right. But Bauer Sharp has kind of turned some heads too.
Yeah. And to your point about the weather, that's a good thing, because what that would tell me is you don't know what the weather in South Carolina is going to be like. So if that's the case, you better damn well find that run play that you're good at. You better be able to run the ball, because, you know, LSU played in some elements last year. The Alabama game, offense was no good. And obviously it affected Garrett. He threw the ball terribly in that game. So, you know, I think that's a good thing. But honestly, man, I'm talking myself into Sharp because he's faster than Mason Taylor, right? He's not as good. He's faster though, and maybe
Where you get in speed, you lack it inline blocking.
right, and just being an overall just better player. But man, Bauer Sharp's athletic for a tight end, and he's got it reminds you a little bit of Chig Okonkwo of the Tennessee Titans. Just speed at the tight end position. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, you got look, I'll keep saying it. Garrett's got options now.
Right. I mean, Sharp
he's got options. Look, battle, don't battle. I mean, there's things he's got to do. Again, the DJ Pickett pick is there for me. I mean, you see it, I see it, everybody saw it by now. Turnovers still got to drop, right? I mean, like that's still got to be a thing where they drop. But we'll see what he looks like tomorrow. Here's another thing. I'm going to give you a hot take. You ready?
I want a scorcher.
Okay, here might be a scorcher. There's no bigger transfer that you need to hit more than Josh Thompson.
Oh yeah, that's a gazillion %. And you can even make the case for Braylon Moore as well.
Okay, so it's maybe not that high of a take then.
Yeah, I mean that.
But the interior offensive line's getting their asses whooped.
Yeah, it's a problem, and yeah, I don't think that. Here's the thing. I don't mind that they're getting beat. It honestly doesn't bother me. One thing that I do hope is that the coaches knew that going into this.
I mean, they had to have. I mean,
yeah,
God bless him. You put Bo Borderline at right guard and thought it was going to work. Yeah.
So hopefully they were expecting that to happen. So if they didn't and they thought that these guys would be better, then they were mistaken. And that's not good. Because one thing, and it kind of goes back to the Cam Wire thing, it's really hard to pick out who your best players are in spring football. It's part of why, I've advocated for the scrimmage for years. It's just different, right? There are 22 players on the field, which means there are 22 different variables outside of the ball, the wind, all those different things. And when you're in a controlled environment, going up against familiar bodies day after day after day, I can't really know anything about you unless you're just like, unless I'm looking at Derek Stingley going up against Jamar Chase, where anyone could see that you're watching, $60 million worth of athletes going one-on-one. Anyone could see that. I mean, per year. Actually, it's more than that.
Yeah, but $200 million plus $250 million guaranteed.
Right. But you could see that, but it could be ambiguous and just you guessing that this guy could be good. And we have not seen LSU do the best job of having the right guys picked for the first game. It is amazing. Go year by year how drastically who your best players are, your starters are in week 1, and then you get to week 2, week 3, week 4, and there's 3 or 4 different players that weren't starting then that are starting now. And that's not like uncommon, but it goes back to something else you said earlier in the show, that be very skeptical of every single practice report that you hear. That's why, when you ask, hey, what's a spring thing that you take away? I make sure I talk to at least 3 different people that's telling me, and I see with my own eyes that DJ Pickett is a stud.
Well, and every coach, like, that's why I'm saying, like, there's practice reports where, well, this, after talking to sources, this is the 5 guys they're hitting on. Well, Patrick Payton has not made a presence this spring at all. He hasn't been out there too. I mean, he goes through individual drills, but he's not making a presence known. Tamarcus Cooley is not making a presence whatsoever. So this practice reports that come out like, oh, this coach is saying this coach is saying that, or this, because that's what the sources are. I mean, like, no, they're not. No, they are not. So again, I'm not trying to be rude to anybody in saying this. It is the fact. Get out there and see it for yourself. You can't tell what DJ Pickett's doing until you get out there and see it. Now, I will say this. I call it glazing, but it's not, because the kid's been fantastic. But then you don't go to, like, if you go to our practice report, 4 plays before that, Chris Hilton hit him on a double move and he got burned. He hit him with a slant and go, and it was gone. Chris, I mean, if Garrett's not throwing in a 20-mile-an-hour winds, it's a touchdown. I mean, like, legitimate again. So again, that's the point that I'm trying to make here. And like, when Tamarcus Cooley did not have a good day. He had a PBU, then he got beat. Then Bauer Sharp beat him again. Then he beat him again. Then they did a 12 personnel fake counter drag route where you had one tight end on a small drag and the other one coming up. So this linebacker and the safety have got to make a decision. What are you going to do with those freaks? By the way, on the outside, you had 2 verts. So what's the safety going to do there? Again, anyway, I mean, in reference to Josh Thompson, he graduated on Saturday. You need these guys to come in and practice because, look, I hope we go out there tomorrow and there's changes made. So even if you're watching this clip today, I hope changes are made. You got to put 66 in the interior. I'm sorry. 66 and 57 have got to play in your interior right now. Get a look. I don't want to. Here's the biggest. I got to say this. This is the biggest lie of all time, too, about spring. Like, oh, I'm just going to give this senior guy the look. Okay, we'll give him the look. Well, after a week, when you can clearly see that 66 and 57 are better, look, buddy. I mean, there's you allegedly, apparently, through an article said you're going to spend $25 million this year. By the way, that's $10 million to a head coach, $2 million to a coordinator. So you're spending $50 million on the roster and coaching staff. So $500 million. Well, I don't want to. I want to see 66 with the ones, and let's see how this goes. Don't tell me that the reps in spring don't mean anything.
Yeah, I try to be like in my spring practice breakdowns that I do on Power Hour LSU. Obviously, I do live shows like you do, but I do pre-recorded videos. I try and be as conceptual as I possibly can and not say
right.
Like that. I am very careful with who I say, you know, this guy's doing this or this guy's doing that.
You got to be exceptional.
Yes. Like, and like, that's why, you know, I said what I said about DJ. I mean, he has been. Yeah,
he's been exceptional. There's no way you can 100%.
And for the record, it's not just you that's told me this. It's multiples.
There's no human being that's been out there that can say that number 3 is not shining.
Yeah.
There's no way. And here's the other part of that. When you talk about players shining, then if you're actually out there and doing your job, there's no other way that you can come out with another conclusion that these other guys, brother, they put Austin Osbury at star. First play, they ran 37 zone, and he got demolished by Trey'Daz Green in the running game. Destroyed. Your first play from scrimmage in team drills, which is basically a mini scrimmage, is us running 11 yards on outside zone. Carter, we would have paid $50 million for one of those runs a year ago.
Oh, no. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. What are we having tonight?
What do you mean? Food-wise? I haven't eaten yet. I had one hamburger patty and a chicken breast. I have not eaten yet.
Good.
So I don't know. Maybe some eggs.
I do. I've been switching over to not scrambling my eggs, but like a fried egg. I had to Google how to make it.
I don't mind that at all. I just I took the month off after I hit the 100 pounds pretty much because I knew that I could manipulate my water weight.
Oh, you've lost the century mark?
Yeah, century mark, 100 pounds. Yep.
Let's go, big dog.
So I kind of but I've been able to give myself the month off to kind of just recalibrate. We're about to get back on it. So I've kind of been like, you know, hey,
here's my biggest disappointment of this whole thing.
Okay.
I love talking about LSU football. You know, I said you how much I love the Monster Milam aesthetic. The gold LSU uniforms, baseball uniforms, is the best uniform in any LSU sport. And I
agree.
Dude, it gets me going. It gets my juices flowing. It makes me happy. Do we win this weekend and get out of the round of 32? Kim Mulkey.
Oh, oof. I am worried about a little ring rust.
We should go to the game. Let's go to the game Saturday night, 9 p.m. Let's go.
I have football practice, and it's at 9 p.m. Brother, I'm going to be – by the way, that game is too late for me.
That's the bet.
And we got LSU baseball.
By the way, the Freaks are out at night. Let's go. 9 p.m. I'm thinking about making the trip. I want this could be Anissa Morrow's last game. She's given so much to the program.
The Freaks come out at night.
Let's go, LSU. Come on, Kim. They get a good bracket.
I think they're going to get to the Elite Eight. No, I think they get clipped
by Lauren Betts. With it, all the pressure would be on UCLA because we beat them.
I know. I think that's where they get clipped.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
How about see you?
We'll see you. That's Carter the Power Bryant. Always fantastic. We're out of here with him. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Big show tomorrow. We'll see y'all. Y'all have a good one. Peace.